Hey, what's up everybody? Ed the Pond Professor here, coming to you from my beautiful office at Aqualand, water garden capital of the world, located in St. Charles, Illinois. We are doing a really cool project. It's kind of unique because this project actually started a year ago. So Brian went out over a year ago actually at this point and met with this incredible customer, Lara and Mark Christensen, to design a unique woodland stream. What I love about this is Lara is a landscape designer. She has an incredible vision. The property is unbelievable. She sent us a bunch of different pictures as well as some ideas and things like that to engage our mind as well as our sense of design and how it could fit into the overall landscape. So let me show you what she sent us, and then we're going to start this design process and you'll be able to follow us along throughout this incredible journey. Like I said, this started well over a year ago, and these pictures are from last winter when she started coming up with some of these ideas. She kind of has this area highlighted out over here as a top and a bottom. There's actually a fire pit, kind of a seating area here, where the picture is taken kind of from the viewing area that I'm standing in. That's the home. There's an outdoor terrace in that location, as well as all types of outdoor windows and things like that from the family room as well as the kitchen and the back of the property. Everything kind of looks down this entire corridor, and as you can see over here, we have this beautiful canopy of these incredible oak trees. On the other side, there's a fence right over here. There's actually a golf course located over there. What I love about this property is the orientation of everything as well as that unique canopy of trees. In fact, so much so, the reason they purchased this property was because of those incredible oak trees. And we had to obviously come up with some unique strategies to protect all these oak trees during the construction process. But what I want to show you right now is some of those design thoughts and processes before we actually jump into some of those construction things. And she's saying that there's a top and a bottom over here. That has since changed. The bottom is actually way down over here at this point. So Brian actually moved it a lot further down. The top is still kind of located in that area, but we just kind of stretched it out a little bit. And the reason being is if it was located just in that one particular place and we had a waterfall coming down into a pond in that location, it would not have the same effect as a longer meandering stream that actually disappears out of our viewing point. So when you have that water just kind of disappear off to your peripheral vision, it makes it look like it's a lot larger system. It's an actual stream or a spring or something like that, which is the overall goal obviously for our project. The other thing that I like here, what Lara did, is she came up with a series of notes and things like that. Like I said, we ended up moving some of these things a little bit, or pulled this way down further over this way. Because she's a landscape designer, she came in and came up with a lot of different ideas. So she said she wants a shallow basin along with a stream. She wants native plants, the length approximately 30 feet. We actually stretched it out much longer than that. The depth anywhere from 6 inches to a foot. She wants to have it relatively shallow, very easy for her dogs to access it, as well as other wildlife to interact with the water feature. So it doesn't need to be deep in order to pull that off. Also looking for a series of small cascades and things like that, but we don't have a lot of grade change. So we're gonna have to play around with some of those elevations once we get on the job site. It says that there's a 1 foot grade change from kind of a high mound over here by these trees coming towards the patio. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna excavate a reservoir. So we're gonna come in with a 1,500 gallon-ish reservoir. We're gonna go deeper than normal. So what that's gonna allow us to do is I'm gonna set the aqua blocks 8 to 12 inches below the existing grade. So that's gonna automatically give us another foot of elevation change combined with that raised elevation, if that makes sense. Now all of a sudden the difference between those 2 points is 2 feet. That makes a big difference. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all the soil that we excavate out of this reservoir and we're gonna build it up over here. Now we're gonna have a 3+ foot elevation change from the discharge point all the way down to the pumps. So this is a very easy concept for us to work with, and we could work with the soil on site to manipulate those different gradients. We'll start here on the bottom. She has this pondless waterfall where the water just disappears down into that river rock. Remember, we're gonna put in those aqua blocks down below all of this stuff to capture the water. But on top of that, we're gonna have small river pebbles to create a nice little entry area for her dogs to access the water, as well as pollinators and birds and different wildlife. And you can see in this design there's an existing patio located right over in here, and that's because they have an existing outdoor fire pit and patio. So she would like to have this twisting, turning, meandering stream system making its way down, which I completely agree with. This project is located in Illinois, which is relatively very flat. And when you start talking about river systems in a flat environment, they have a very lazy, meandering type of feel to them, because what they're going to do is they're going to take the path of least resistance. You're going to have fast moving water, and it slowly erodes its way out of those different zones, and it exposes bedrock and things like that. Versus if you have a very steep gradient, the water is going to want to go down as quickly as possible from the highest point down to the lowest point, and it usually goes almost in a straight line because it's literally just crashing and tumbling over everything, and it doesn't have a lot of time to twist and turn its way around. So what I want to do is incorporate both of those strategies on this particular project. The other thing that she located here is she loved this type of a look of very shallow water, just very simple riffles and things like that, as well as a thing that I like here, utilizing some branches and logs and things like that. Brian and I have since gone back out this spring, met with Lara and Mark, walked over everything just to make sure that we had all these different details accounted for. And then the other thing that we did is we walked into the back corner of the property where they had an abundance of downed trees and logs and stuff like that, and we started identifying some of these different pieces for use exactly like this. But the difference is the stuff they have on their property is massive. So we're going to be able to incorporate some beautiful logs on this particular project, which you know I'm a huge fan of, because it adds a different aesthetic as well as different function. So it's going to take the place of some of those rocks. It's going to break up the monotony of too much rock work. And located in here in Illinois, if you were to find a natural woodland area and you find a stream, I guarantee it you're going to find a lot of logs in it, because that's what happens. The final thing that I love working with different types of logs and things, it adds a different element of a surface to the feature. Not just from an aesthetic standpoint, but a functional one. You've heard me talk about this before. Microorganisms are going to cover every square millimeter of rock and gravel, boulders, aquatic plants and things like that. And these microorganisms are responsible for the cycling of nutrients within the ecosystem, which is what's going to give us good water quality. The more diversity you have, the healthier the environment. It makes it more stable, and I love stability because when we have a stable environment, it gives us consistent results. We come up with some rough concepts. We come up with lengths and widths and maximum heights and things like that because we need to know those because of the pumping system. We need to know that because of the amount of pipe we need. We need to know that because of the amount of rubber lining, the number of rocks, the amount of river rock. So we have calculations for all these things. So we'll be very dimensional with them. But from an artistic standpoint, we typically wait until we get on site where we could work with the different rocks that we have to create those desired effects. So what I have here, and you can see there's a couple things that I've highlighted. We have an existing terrace area as well as a bank of windows over here located on the back of the house, which is in this direction. We have that existing fire pit area as well as some existing trees, and there are trees all over the place over in here. And this system is kind of strategically located in between them where it's not going to damage the root systems. And that was very specific with us, and it's very near and dear to Lara and Mark because they purchased the property because of these legacy trees on the property. So what we've done is we've located the lower area, which is going to be that 1,500 gallon reservoir. We've sized it according to the length of the overall stream. So once we know the length, once we know the width of it, I could do a calculation for the water in motion. Water in motion is going to take that length as well as the width and the depth of the water. Once we've done those calculations, we can figure out the cubic volume and gallons of that water that's in motion. What I want to do is I'm going to multiply that number by 2. The minimum size that I want to have down here in my reservoir is going to be twice the amount of water in motion. So that's going to give us a little bit of a safety factor. So that's going to allow us to operate the stream system for many, many weeks without adding additional water to it. And also with a system like this, that's going to give us the option to actually shut the system off. All that water is going to continue going by gravity down into this lower basin. So what's going to happen is we have this reservoir. It's going to remain about half full most of the time. When they shut the system off, it's going to go all the way up to the overflow point, then it's going to stabilize. They turn the pumps back on, the water's going to get drawn back down, but we still have a 50% reservoir of water to continue the system operating. And again, if you need more information, let me know. I mean, give me some information in some of these design drawings, and I would love to go into more detail to show you exactly how some of these different systems operate. The other thing that we're going to be doing here, like we always do, is we will have an overflow built into the ecosystem. So if we get an abundance of rain, it is springtime right now in Chicago, all that excess water that's going to go down has to go somewhere. It's going to fill up that reservoir. We have to have an overflow associated with it. And in this particular one, they happen to have a drainage grate already in position. So all we need to do is connect our reservoir, this little system right down here, with a little dry creek bed, or we could do a pipe system. There's a lot of different ways to do it. They actually like the idea of going with a dry creek bed, so the water will overflow to a certain level in the reservoir, and then it's going to start working its way downstream and get picked up by a drainage swale. Like I said, we've identified the length, the width, the height. Now we could figure out the pumping system as well as the quantity of stone. A few other things that I want to mention here. We also want to have access points. So to get to this fire pit over here, we have to give them a way to get there. We don't want them walking all the way around the stream. It's not convenient. We want it to look like all these different pieces were designed together. So we're going to have a simple bridge crossing. So a big thick slab of stone that's going to go from the terrace across the stream over to the fire pit. What I love about that is it's going to give us different viewing areas as well as angles and more interaction with the water feature. The other thing that Laura requested was there's kind of a hidden garden back over here beneath these beautiful oak trees. So we want to have a series of stepping stones going across. Now these stepping stones are just going to be a couple large rocks, maybe 2 or 3 positioned next to each other, where they could easily step themselves across. We have one bridge. We don't want to make it too messy with too many bridges. Kind of breaks up the visual impact. The other thing that they're going for on this particular project is they want it to be natural. So by having big slabs of stone, this is exactly what you would find in nature. If you want to hop across a stream, you're going to look for a narrow spot where these large pieces of rock are in position, and then you're just going to quickly step across without actually walking all the way around the system. We have a series of logs that I want to incorporate into it, and when we have a wooded lot like this, I want to utilize that local material. Like I said, this is going to be an incredible project. I love doing these little meandering streams, and I love working with people that are passionate and know exactly what they want. Stay tuned. This is going to be one incredible project you don't want to miss.